So firstly, all the income from this record will be going to Masks for NHS Heroes. It's a UK-based fundraiser currently underway, aims to provide better protective equipment for NHS staff on the front lines of the coronavirus pandemic here. Just wanted to go through a rundown of the tracks on this record and just give you some information about each of them. The record's called Go Viral or Go Home. It's going to be released later this week, hopefully on Thursday, with a dance video. If you enjoy the video, share it. If you enjoy the music, buy it, listen to it on Spotify, all that good stuff. So the first track is called Mass Delusion, and the structural idea for this track was similar to a lot of Bob Dylan's songs, a repeating theme and a little interlude, a little bit 2/3 of the way through the song, but a repeating theme which was typical of Dylan. Think of albums like Blood on the Tracks. Many of the songs on that was just simple repeating themes over and over with interesting lyrics and an interesting story that was painted throughout the song. So that's really the structural idea behind this song. It certainly doesn't sound like a Bob Dylan song, but that's the structure behind it. The concept of Mass Delusion in terms of the theme is that humanity is facing uncomfortable choices currently. It's facing choices that are difficult in the sense that by aiming in one direction, we may lose drastically in another direction. And if we follow the other direction, we lose in the first direction. So I feel like at the moment, whatever we choose, we're going to have to make sacrifices one way or another. And I think that globally, or at least in the West, we are having to come into terms with that, and people do not like it at the moment, unfortunately. So that's the real backbone of the lyrics in Mass Delusion, some of the structure. Second track is called Living a Lie. This is an old one I wrote many years ago, but I could not sing for a long time. And over the last year, I kind of got the vocal together. It's a well-written track that I've always liked because it's kind of Dorian mode in terms of where it resolves to, which makes it sound a little bit different. It's a little bit chromatic in nature as well. Some of the lines in it are more chromatic. So it is just a song that's I've always thought is one of my best, most well-written songs. Track number 3, Failed Dreams. I mean, this title says it all, really. Again, this is a repeating motif. In fact, it just really repeats 3 times, but resolves differently at the end of each repeat, if that makes sense. And this is very plain. The lyrics are simple, and they're just about my failure as a singer-songwriter, both as a singer, both as trying to generate an audience for myself, performing live, dealing with paralyzing nerves, all this stuff that just, really has made me get very little out of, my quest to find any success in this. So it's mostly just about my failed dreams. Track number 4, Middle Age. This is actually similar to Failed Dreams in the theme, but it's this idea of reaching 40, which I am nearly now. I'm 39. I'm realizing I'm halfway through my life, and in all honesty, the last 15 years, I'm not going to be in the best health, because nobody is, relative to when they're young. So how much time do I really have left? The answer is not that much. And that's what middle age is about. It's about realizing, time is going, and I'm going to be going bye-bye soon, unfortunately. Dealing with that, it's very sobering. Way down here, song number 5. Structurally, this is just always resolving back to the root. It's quite simple in that sense. It's in a major key, so it sounds quite more upbeat and a little bit more smiley happy than quite a few of the other tracks. The lyrical theme of this is when I've been through a couple of experiences where I've realized that I'm struggling to keep my head above water in terms of attracting women, maintaining my confidence. It's just about dealing with the hierarchy that's out there, that you become very aware of it, when you're out interacting with women and figuring out which ones like you and which ones will never like you. Motivation, track number 6. This is a kind of break in the record. It's mostly instrumental, but there is a kind of dark stroke motivational speech for the first third of this song, which I just wrote down and thought was interesting. The idea of it is to try and get across to people, look, if you want to get anything out of your life, you've got to pull it out yourself. No one's going to do it for you. And trying to get that across in a way that is in some ways cold, but ultimately offers a route out for people who are struggling. Track number 7, I'm Falling Down. Many times in my life, I've had experiences where my confidence is building. I think I'm singing well, I think I'm performing well, and I realise it's not working, and I have a failure of confidence, a failure of ego, a collapsing of my ego, and I feel like I'm being dragged back down to earth. And I'm falling down is that. It's really saying, this is me. I can't be as good as I want to be. I can't be as successful as I want to be. Take it or leave it. That's really what it's saying. The Feeling's Gone is about a relationship I had quite a few years ago where I was convinced this girl liked me, and had the very cold realisation that even if she did potentially like me, it was not going to work for various reasons, and being angry at that situation, being angry at myself, being angry at her, being angry at the lack of control I felt, and the feelings disappeared, unfortunately, and very sadly. Last Romance is kind of the lead track on the album in terms of the video that I'm releasing the album with is based on Last Romance. And what is it about? It's about a recent relationship I had with a girl I very much like and think is amazing, but I had the horrible realisation that I'm probably going to have to be on my own for the rest of my life because I'm just not somebody that's able to function well in relationships, sadly. And it's really my line in the sand saying, this is the last time, I'm not going to do it again. And trying to figure out, well, where does my life go from here? Now I'm committing to be on my own, at least for the short term. Circle of Life is probably the most important track on the album in a way, because I feel that the lyrics are very universal and speak to people on a deep level. This is a song that I felt was really well written. Some of the ideas for the chords came from Lilac Wine, which you may hear the chords are very different, the melodies are very different, but you'll hear this when I transition between the two sections of the song. You'll hear a similar type of transition. Outside of that, it's very different. But lyrically, this song is about the circle of life, the cycle we go through as children, adults, and more mature people, shall we say. How our perspectives are so vastly different depending on where we're at in that circle, and how children perceive events so differently to adults, and older people perceive things very differently to younger adults and things like this, and how painful that can be to see and to cope with. How children don't necessarily react in the way you'd expect. For example, if you see kids whose parents tragically die or something, and they won't necessarily be upset in a sense. Kids, I'm thinking of 4, 5, 6 years old, they don't really know what's going on. Whereas somebody older is devastated about the implications and consequences of that. Also, you think about older people, their perspective, and looking at younger adults who are naive, who are idealistic, who are fighting against things that they will not be able to adjust or change. And just really, the idea of the song is just picking away at those discrepancies and those differences between the generations, and how they will always be there, and how as you get older, what you discover is that people who are older have been through all phases of that journey, whereas people who are younger have not. So those parts of life are largely invisible to them. And it's just really a commentary on that conundrum. But it's the strongest vocal on the record. It is the lyrics are the most well written on the record. And I thought it's a very special track, which is why I put it at the end. Now, there's a good mixture on this record of more upbeat songs. There's a couple of slow burners. There's more medium tempo songs like Way Down Here. And I'm very proud of it. I think in a lot of ways it's a very good record. It's the first record I made that I feel like I can kind of stand behind more confidently for various reasons. So hopefully you guys will enjoy it later in the week, and I'll leave it at that for now. Hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe, and here's to hopefully things getting better over the next 3 to 6 months. Blessings to everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.